Okay, this is study guide number 7, part 2. For number 22, you have negative 4 raised to the third power, or negative 4 cubed. It's inside the parentheses, the negative, so when you write that out, it'll be negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. A negative times a negative is a positive 16. Bring this one down, times a negative 4. A negative times a positive will be a negative. When you put them together, you get a negative 64. Simplify what? Like when we get to negative 64, that's all that you can do with that. Number 23, the difference between 23 and 22 is, notice that the negative is not inside parentheses now. So it's not negative 4 times itself 5 times. It's simply 4 times itself 5 times. Somebody help me out with that one. Is it like 1025? Do 4 to the 5th power for me real quick. What is it? 1024? No, I was pretty close. It's 1024, and like we said a second ago, we multiplied all of those positive numbers together, but we have to bring this negative down. So it doesn't matter if it was an even or an odd exponent, it's going to be a negative 1024. Again, that's the difference between 22 and 23. For number 24, we're plugging in the value negative 1.4 in place of x. Notice for number 24 that there's a negative in front of the x first. So it's negative 1.4 plus 6.4. Anytime, again, you have a negative negative, that means it's plus a positive, or it's positive altogether. So we're putting together a positive 1.4 and a positive 6.4. 4 plus 4 will be 8, and 6 plus 1 will be 7. Positive 7.8. Number 25 says negative 72 divided by negative 8. A negative divided by a negative will be a positive. 9 times 8 is 72. 26 is asking which property. 3 plus a negative 3, it becomes 0. Anytime things become 0, it's the property of 0. Property of 0. Number 27 says 5 plus 1 over 6 equals 1 over 6 plus 5. Notice nothing changes except which one comes first on the left side and the right side. It just swaps positions, it moves, or it commutes. Therefore, this is the commutative property, and it's adding, so it'll be of addition, not of multiplication. Commutative property of addition. Number 28, we're getting back to solving for variables. 2 over 3x minus 4 equals 2. This is the two-step equations, or the multi-step equations that we got to the last day and a half. That means 2/3 times x minus 4 equals 2. Normally you would do, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you do multiplication and division before you did addition and subtraction. But when you're undoing it, when you're using inverse operations, you always do your addition and subtraction before your multiplication and division. So take care of that minus 4 by adding 4, and it'll cancel it out. You add 4 to the left side, you add it to the right side. What you have left on this side is 2 over 3x equals 2 plus 4 is 6. That's the same thing. 2 over 3x is the same thing as 2 over 3 times x. In order to undo multiplication, you divide. You want to keep x, so divide by what's not x. In this case, what's not x is 2 over 3. You divide the left side by 2 over 3. Do the same exact thing to the right side. Divide it by 2 over 3. We can put every number, we can put every integer over 1, because it's not going to change what it is. 6 divided by 1 is 6. Anytime you're dividing fractions, you want to turn them into multiplication problems. 6 over 1, division becomes multiplication. Notice we left the first fraction as 6 over 1. You take the second fraction and you use its reciprocal. Remember, all that means is to flip it. 2 over 3 becomes 3 over 2. At this step, you need to multiply straight across, but before you do that, you can actually do a little cross canceling. The number 2 goes into 6 and 2. It goes into 6 3 times, and it goes into 2 1 time. Then you multiply straight across. 3 times 3, x will be 9. Number 29 says 15 equals negative d plus 19. Again, you're doing your addition and your subtraction, or you're undoing it, I should say, before your multiplication and division. Undo plus 19 by subtracting 19. You subtract 19 on the left side, on the right side, it'll cancel out and leave you with negative d. That's just coming straight down. If you subtract it on the right side, you need to subtract 19 on the left side. 15 minus 19, opposite sign, so you subtract them. 19 minus 15 leaves you with 4. Then notice that 19 is farther away from 0. It's negative. So negative 4 will equal negative d. Negative d is the same thing. Rewrite it here a little bit. Negative d is the same thing as negative 1d, which means negative 1 times d. In order to undo negative 1 times d, or in order to undo multiplication, you divide. We want to keep d. We want d all by itself, so divide by negative 1. That'll cancel out. You divide the right side by negative 1, you have to make sure to do it to the left side. And a negative divided by a negative, 4 divided by 1 will be a positive 4. Number 30 says 36 minus 20 plus 7g equals 30. Just like the very first problem, you have to do some combining of like terms first. You have 7g is the only variable term, but 36 and negative 20 are both constant terms. So you can put 7g down by itself, it's positive. 36 and negative 20, when you combine those, one's positive, one's negative, so you need to subtract them. 36 minus 20 will leave you the number 16. And then you notice 36 is farther from 0, it's positive, so it'll be a positive 16 equals 30 still. Then you need to undo your addition and your subtraction, followed by your multiplication and your division. You have plus 16, so you need to subtract 16. It'll cancel out. You subtract 16 on the left, you need to do the same thing to the right. What you're left with on the left is 7g equals 30 minus 16 is 14. 7g is the same thing. Remember, it means 7 times g. In order to undo multiplication, you divide. You're keeping g by itself, so divide by 7. That'll cancel them out. Divide the left by 7, you got to do the same thing to the right, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. Number 31 says 4, right outside the parentheses, y plus 6 equals 36. Remember, anytime it's right next to the parentheses or it's outside, it means to multiply, and more specifically, you need to distribute 4. 4 multiplied by y will give you 4y, and 4 times positive 6 will give you positive 24, still equal to 36. Undo your addition and your subtraction, then your multiplication and your division. Plus 24, you subtract 24, and that'll cancel them out. You subtract 24 on the left, you have to do the same thing on the right. What you're left with is 4y equals 36 minus 24 is 12. Remember, 4y is the same thing as 4 times y. So undo multiplication by dividing. You want to keep y, so divide by what's not y. It happens to be 4 right here. Cancel them out. You divide it by 4 on the left side. You do the same thing on the right side. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Number 32, this is not a two-step equation. Now it actually becomes a three-step equation, but you follow the same exact rules. 4p over 7 minus 28 equals negative 36. Still undo your addition and your subtraction before you undo your multiplication and your division. So you have minus 28, do the inverse of that and add 28. That'll cancel them out. What you're left with on this side is everything that you see. 4p over 7 equals, If we added 28 to the left, we have to add 28 to the right. Negative 36 and positive 28, that means to subtract them. 36 minus 28 gives you the number 8. And since 36 is farther away from 0, it's negative. It leaves you with a negative 8. Now you have 4p over 7 equals negative 8, or 4p divided by 7. So now we have 4p over 7 equals negative 8. That's the same thing. That means 4p divided by 7. In order to undo divide by 7, you multiply by 7. That's going to cancel out your division. If you multiply the left by 7, you got to multiply the right by 7. What you're left with on the left now is 4p equals negative 8 times 7. A negative times a positive is always going to be negative. 8 times 7 is 56. Then you have 4p equals negative 56. That means 4 times p. In order to undo that, you divide by 4. And that'll cancel them out and leave you with just p. If you divide the left by 4, you got to divide the right by 4. Negative 56 divided by 4, 4 goes into 5 one time. And you have to carry the 1. It goes into 16 4 times. And a negative divided by a positive will always be negative. The very last one, number 33, says 2.7x plus 3.3 equals 11.4. Again, you want to undo your addition and your subtraction before your multiplication and your division. That's backwards from your normal order of operations. In order to undo plus 3.3, you subtract 3.3. That'll cancel it out, leave you with just 2.7x. If you subtract 3.3 on the left, you need to subtract 3.3 on the right. 4 minus 3 is 1. 11 minus 3 is 8. So you have 2.7x equals 8.1, or 2.7 times x equals 8.1. In order to undo multiply by 2.7, you divide by 2.7, they'll cancel. You divide the left by 2.7, you do the same thing to the right, and x equals 3.